6 million people need treatment for dependence. Is addiction preventable? Can addiction be treated? Inside addiction.
Welcome back to another episode of Inside Addiction. Today in the studio, we're joined by the founders and driving force behind Keys to Recovery newspaper. So this is an actual physical newspaper which is currently distributed throughout the country, and it gives resources to people that provide treatment and support, as well as spreading the message of hope and recovery. So I'd like to welcome to the show Jeannie Rabb Marshall. She's the co-founder and president. Marcus Marshall, co-founder and vice president, and Beth Stern, co-founder and CEO. Thank you guys for coming in today.
Oh, thank you.
So how's everyone doing?
Wonderful.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited to talk about this newspaper, and it's great. We have it here. It's an actual physical newspaper, which we kind of discussed before the show here. And before we kind of get into the questions, I wanted to kind of just talk about the story of Keys to Recovery, how it came all about, and if you guys have any personal addictions, if you'd like to share that and how you came over that.
Well, the first thing with the newspaper, the way we came to be is I actually used to work for a different newspaper, Steps to Recovery, okay. And I had a business partner, and we kind of ran it for the family who owned it, and it was going really well. I had quit my job in corporate America to, help Jason Levin, who was the publisher and president at the time, and we did really well. At first, it was kind of on the verge of going down, and so I quit my job and went on unemployment, and I told them if I couldn't generate enough revenue in 3 months, that it probably wasn't going to happen. And what happened, within a year, we were breaking even, which was unheard of. It never happened before. But Jason, he passed away. He died in the office. He was 40 years old and sober, and he had a heart condition. And, it's like I've lost a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Being a recovering alcoholic myself, I have 29 years sober tomorrow.
Congratulations.
And I've lost a lot of people, but he was sober, and, he's only 40. And it was very devastating. So when he went down, he actually stayed. He kind of hung on for about 2 months, and then he had another heart attack and died. It was just, I tried to go on. I tried to keep the newspaper, but it was just, it was devastating, because he had gone down there right in the office, and they brought him back. So every day that I went to the office, it was just too much. So I quit, and I went back to corporate America. My old boss, the place that I've worked at now, off and on for the last 30 years, asked me to come back. And I did a little bit of in between. I worked for a New Seasons. I worked. I went on a mission in Africa.
Wow.
Nice. In Uganda to help orphans. I was a little lost.
That's great.
And then, it's been probably 8 or 9 years. And what happened is, a lot of people had asked me, why don't you continue it? And I just didn't have the heart for it, And I remember Beth was in sales. She was working for like a little, what was it, a thing in a market or something?
Yeah, magazine, so it was print.
Okay.
And so she was like, busting her butt selling, and I said, I used to do this, we should do this. And at first we just started talking about it, and then I was talking with my husband Marcus, and then one thing led to another, and before you knew it, we actually just took the jump, and Marcus quit his job. He used to work at Cry Help, so he quit his job so he could go full-time, and then Beth followed suit like a week after she quit her job. So,
great.
And at the beginning, they were just working, as a labor of love. There was no money. We had to generate business, and we're coming up now on our 4th issue.
Okay.
And we are flush. It's incredible. There's, people are just so supportive, and so, it's incredible.
And it's a monthly publication?
It's every month, yeah.
Okay, so every month. So this is the 4th episode.
That's a third.
Fourth paper.
Well, we're working on it right now. The 4th one is March,
Okay.
and we're actually just closing out today. It's like, that's why we're so crazy.
Right. Okay. So then it was started about 4 months ago? Is that?
Well, actually, no, we started almost like a year ago, but there was a lot of work. We had to do our distribution first.
Gotcha.
Because you can only sell your ads if you have good distribution. Correct. So we were calling up, these two were working they had their full-time jobs, and they'd come in the evenings and call up people to see if they wanted our newspaper, and then that's how we got the 20,000 little by little,
Yeah,
and
our distribution's up 20,000.
That's amazing.
And we're free. So, it's easy when you...
Yeah, people love that.
Yeah, when you say, "Hey, want something for free?" They're like, "Yeah."
Right.
Exactly.
No, we're
I told them that earlier before the show. They don't turn us down.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that you just got into Cedars.
Just got into Cedars.
Which is
the
amazing.
behavioral science. Yep.
Great. That's amazing.
I know it is.
Okay. And then who writes the articles? How do you guys decide on topics? How do you bring the writers in? How does that work?
It's kind of a collaborative thing. First of all, we think of something.
Okay.
And then it kind of takes on a mind of its own. The first one is, Mary Cook I've worked with her on the old newspaper as well, and she's just an incredible author. Mm-hmm. And so she, I sent her an email and I said, "This is what we're going to do." And she's like, "Whatever you need." She was on board. So she sent me our first feature. And so that what happens is people start writing every month for us. But like John Bradshaw, he was a teacher of mine in 1982 when I went to Dallas. I was drug counselor in the 80s.
Okay.
And he was one of the lecturers that came in and taught us. And he's a little bit older now, but, a couple of people, Diana Foster over at the Canyon, she contacted him, and Dr. Dave Lewis, we all kind of got, sober together in the beginning. And so they contacted him, and he submitted an article for us, which was incredible. We got a lot.
Wow.
Everybody loved that. They're like, "John Bradshaw."
That's great. And if someone wants to write for you, are you open to having other writers?
Yes.
Okay.
We
Great.
submit it.
Yeah, we just
Okay.
tell them it has to be more of an article. It can't be like an advertorial where they're talking about themselves.
Okay.
It has to be about a subject, whether, like we're doing eating disorders, we're looking at gambling, we've done sex addiction, just
Okay.
a little bit of everything. But our focus is drugs and alcohol and the recovery from it.
Gotcha. Okay. And they would go to keys-to-recoverynewspaper.com if they wanted to reach you?
Yep.
Yes.
If anybody wants to reach, okay. You can also, if you have any email addresses or Twitter or Facebook, feel free
We're
to.
on Facebook too, Keys to Recovery Newspaper. We have
Okay.
a page. Come on the page, like us.
Okay, beautiful.
Like us a lot.
Yes.
Like us a lot.
Very nice. Okay. And so, how does it help people with addiction?
Well, it's not just addiction. We also do all forms of disorders as well.
Okay.
Because it's very prominent out there, as we all know.
Okay.
Jeannie is the one she's the brain behind everything. So I'm going to let her do the speaking.
Okay.
Plus, she has a better voice than I have.
Oh, no.
You got a nice voice.
See,
Come
doesn't
on.
he? He's like my Barry White.
You just gotta speak into that mic a little bit
There
more.
you
There you go. There you go.
Forgot about that.
There you go. But yeah, so how can someone listening to this podcast, they want to pick up your paper? How are they going to benefit? What's in this paper for them?
It gives it's educational. The articles are educational.
Okay.
We have problem and then we follow it up with solution. All the articles have to have problem and solution.
What I tell everyone when they want to submit something, I say it has to end with hope.
Yes.
Because what
That's
we're
beautiful.
doing is we're getting people who have clinical knowledge and then personal knowledge. And what they do is they share their experience, strength, and hope, whether they're a therapist or they're a recovering addict and alcoholic. Sometimes it's, both. Mm-hmm. And what we do is everything in there actually talks about, solution.
Exactly.
And we have a 2-page resource guide. And this is really important because we put that together for free. And that lists all of the homeless shelters, all of the hotlines, whether it's a rape hotline, a runaway hotline, the
Hep
food
C hotline,
yeah,
food banks.
Food banks are incredible because a lot of people out there, HIV, everything.
Mental, physical health.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then like some of the the sober livings, because we're in the most elite places in Southern California, all the way down to Skid Row.
Wow.
And everything in between
Wow.
treatment centers, colleges, drug counseling and DUI classes, high schools, jails,
Probation officers,
and
courthouses.
then a lot of doctors, a lot of clinical.
Doctors.
Yes.
Al-Anon.
Al-Anon.
But as well as we also go into the AA clubhouses and all the meetings, and we're really, it's kind of weird, but, because there's a lot of anonymity questions, and so what we did is we came in because we're all recovering. Beth has 21 years.
Yes.
Marcus just had turned 3 years sober.
Congrats.
I have 29, and we really believe in the principles behind the 12 steps of AA, NA, all of those. So we kind of are adhering to the principles. We don't have to, but we are. Like as recovering addicts and alcoholics, we try to really, have people keep their anonymity. If they're going to talk about being directly in the program, then when they sign the article, they'll just do it like, so-and-so B,
Right.
So because we really believe in personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film, and,
We're about, 80% articles, 20% advertisers, and advertisers utilize our newspaper as a vehicle to display exactly specific services that they have out there for individuals who are in need.
That's great.
Oh, we have fun stuff too. Like we have sober scopes.
Okay, with sober scopes.
Well, we take horoscopes, Marcus does, and then we just kind of like put a twist on it, like if like a
you're gonna have a bad week, go to a meeting, call your sponsor.
Right. We just kind of adjust it because it's for fun.
Yeah, and a lot of a lot of the young kids, they're like, when I sponsor a girl in rehab. And she's like, I love the sober scopes. It's something they can get excited about. Yeah, there's an events calendar. So when there's dances or, during the holidays, it can be where there's going to be marathons or where you can go have dinner or where you can go to a sober dance. All that stuff is important.
Right.
And like when you said, how does this benefit? That it is in facilities. People come and they can't get into the facility, whether it's insurance or whatever. You can have a resource to send them somewhere, so you're not putting them on the street.
And the fact that our articles actually talk about sobriety, and they talk about depression, and they talk about eating disorders and how to recover from them. And the thing, and you can carry it with you. It sits in doctors' offices, so people sit down and they read it. And the shelf life of these, people keep them. They, it's so funny. We were at Thanksgiving, or I don't know where we were somewhere, and someone was having us sign it. They're like, nice. Oh, this is going to be huge someday.
That's great.
So what I know from past experience is that when you have really good articles and you have good authors, we have people that are like they're leaders in the industry right now, and they're writing for us for free.
That's amazing.
And so it has a shelf life of people save them all year long.
Right.
So it's really good for us because they keep using our advertisers. Someone won't have it advertised for like a month, and they'll go, people are still calling me. I said, well, they don't throw them out.
Was that the deciding factor in making a actual paper
Yes.
rather than just going online?
Well, if we go online, you can't get to a lot of percentage of the addicts.
True.
And the alcoholics.
True.
You can't get into jails. You're
Right.
online. You can't get down to Skid Row. You can't get to social services. This allows that there be no barrier or requirement to carry the message. We have an online version, which is great, but even addicts out on the street, when I'm using, it's like, you can even see it on Facebook or something. Someone will disappear. They disappear from life. They don't want. They're not on their social media checking it out. They've checked out, and so we have to have a hard copy so we can carry that message to as many people as possible, because that's what Keys to Recovery is. That we carry the message of hope to as many people as possible. And if we do it on an online version only, we're limiting.
Well, and the thing is, we thought we're kind of old school, that we like to read something physical. Like, I'm a reader. I read. I have literally hundreds of books, and I like to touch them. I do like to have them where I can upload them, for ease, which is why we eventually, but it's so funny because when we first started, we ran into a lot of resistance. People were like, oh, Print's dead and you're never going to do anything. And now they're like, oh, well, can I write an article?
Yeah. Can I get that ad?
We're printing 20,000 copies, and at this rate, even coming out with our fifth, we're looking at probably have to increase to about 25,000 or 30,000 because
we're running out.
Meet the demand.
I mean, that's great.
And we're going to probably grow our newspaper. Right now, it's like what we're trying to do is, I have a little of experience in everything from like graphic arts to sales and everything in between. And I have and I've been teaching that they have the real, Beth and Marcus have the sales experience and they're both sober, but I'm trying to teach them everything because, I don't want to grow too fast. I've seen that where, so I'm trying after, I said, okay, after we're sold out on our ads, which we almost are, we're going to just kind of take a deep breath and figure out where we want to go in the next few months, next 6 months. And then, because we don't want to grow too fast. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So
that's great. And are there any other publications like this?
There's some similar, but they're magazines. They're high-end magazines. They're glossy. They're they come out quarterly. Some of them cost, that you have to spend $6 for it. And then some of them, I think one of them actually went, stopped printing. I don't know which one it was, so I don't want to falsely accuse anybody.
But exactly. But if you're an addict on the street, are you going to go get a glossy $6 magazine?
Right.
Right. I mean, I saw
you're
that.
going for that hit. That's basically what it is.
Exactly. You had the one episode where you, on the cover was, you guys were down on Skid Row.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, that's great. Yeah. People down there, they're they'd have no access to this,
They have no access.
Exactly.
So,
and I got to tell you, because I went and did that delivery, and that's why we took the picture. I was so affected by it, because there is some missions that are like program related, and they're into sobriety, so they're not all down there drinking. You know, there are some that are recovering.
right.
You know, and so this lady came up to me and she said, "Can I have one in a newspaper?" And then she's like, "And can I have one for my boyfriend? He's 6 months sober." They're on the streets, you know, and that's giving hope. That's what that's it.
And the beauty was that on the front was Skid Row, and on the back was the Hills Treatment Center, and which is a high end. And that's basically who we are.
Yeah.
Because someone said to me, "Well, I don't think you're our demographic." I said, "Look, we're everybody's demographic. If somebody needs hope, they're our demographic.
That's right.
If you are an alcoholic, you know an alcoholic, you work with, or not just alcoholic, eating disorders, gambling, any addictive person, even people that are depressed. It's like, everyone's our demographic. Because even if you're not one, you know one, you work with one, you know someone who knows one.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, and I think it's important. I think people need to hear hope and recovery, that it can happen, and it does happen, and people have gotten through it like yourselves.
Yeah.
And when they can hear that and you get that message out, that's what I think inspires people, and that's part of what we're trying to do here as well. Put the positive vibe out.
Exactly.
Put that message out there, and
that's even how that cover started, because first we were going back and forth with the cover. Speed, because this one's on meth, and we were going to do the before and the before and after, and someone so torn down and broken down from speed, but that's not who we are.
Right.
So instead, we decided, to do two heads backwards of like fear, darkness, and then hope, courage, the blue sky, because then that's giving them hope. Because we can do the horror stories, but that's not going to help people. We need to give them
exactly
that people do recover.
Right.
And everybody already knows the horror stories. If they're not living it, they see it on the news. Everything's like, everything I looked up online on meth was scary.
Right, I noticed that, and you guys mentioned that.
Yeah, in the beginning. Yeah.
And the author, the one who wrote the main article, he's from Australia, and he focuses on not just the neurological damage done to the receptors or neural pathways, but he's talking mostly about recovery.
Exactly.
Because everybody knows about the damage.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to have hope that there is recovery.
Exactly.
And that's why we took him, because he was talking about you can recover. People are so right now, like with meth and a lot of drugs, they say once you've done the damage, and we've all heard that.
We're fine. Look at us.
Well, don't look too close.
Don't ask too deep questions.
And he's really interesting, because I was reading the article, and he said that a person that abstains from 3 to 5 years, their neural pathways look identical to a person that never even used methamphetamine.
Wow.
That is extremely
that's very encouraging. Yeah.
And that's and a lot for the families, you know what I mean? Because we do lose so many people on a constant basis. That the ones that do make it and the ones that are getting better, we need to celebrate that. Just like the news. Like you turn on the news, it's all blood, and if it bleeds, it leads.
It's all negative.
But they don't talk about anything that's like positive,
Right.
So I mean, we're not going to overtake the news industry, maybe.
Well, you never know.
But, even like our next issue is focusing on eating disorders.
Okay.
And that's going to open up a whole new door for us and for people. And we also get calls. When people get our newspaper, they call us. Where do I go? What do I do?
Right.
So, we try to refer to people we know personally, that we know. We don't want to just send people into a place that we don't know. So we're also not just doing a newspaper. We're going out and we're touring all these facilities because we want to know who we're, like who takes Medi-Cal, who does this, who does that. So when we're referring, we know who we're referring. And that we don't get paid for referring. That's not what we're doing this for. You know what I mean?
No, that's nice, because a lot of people do try to get paid for referrals. So it's refreshing that you're just doing this to help.
Yeah, we want them to recover. We want them to have a chance.
Right. Well, and it is a labor of love. We're making money. We're going forward, and bless Beth and Marcus. They have cut their lifestyle down to almost nothing, but now we're starting to make money where we can pay. But it's funny because people try to talk us down to nothing, and Beth just told somebody, goes, "We're not making any money here. I mean, come on, give me a break." Exactly. And we just filed for our 5013C. For the state, it's much easier to get through the state.
Right.
And, we're probably like a week or two from knowing whether we have it or not. I'm sure we do have it.
And explain to people who are listening, 501.
Nonprofit, so that we can be a tax deduction. Now, our ads won't. Our ads are, we're selling our ads to generate revenue.
Right.
But when people just want to give us money, we're a tax deduction. And then eventually we'll have like the distribution. Like right now we distribute all over the place, like bundles every month. We'll take 100 here, 50 there for free. And what we'll do in about a year or two is we'll let people know how much it costs us. And if they want, they can donate that money to cover, but they don't have to.
Help out, right. And so where is it distributed right now? So we're majorly in Southern California.
Yeah, but we FedEx out all over. We're going to Florida, New York. We're
Arizona.
deep in, and we deliver locally, but then we also send out to like Orange County and all over the place. And we have people that show up at our like I sponsor 20 women, and they are like we give them all a pile and go out.
Wow.
One girl's got Glendale, one girl's got Simi Valley, because it's and like I said, every day, like we just did a delivery today, and he's like, oh, why don't you have it at our meeting here? So we're adding it on distribution.
That's great.
Because it's free.
Right.
And our mothers help. My mother's retired, and she helps deliver.
Yes. My
Beth's mom's retired. Yeah.
That's
and
great.
she's sober 19 years.
Right. That's great.
And also this newspaper can help. It can help the family.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because everybody is affected.
And we're doing the family afterwards. We're trying to get Ellen on people to write, and just because we want to cover everything for eating, gambling, sex,
Yeah, because especially for
depression, everything.
Sometimes when an addict gets clean or sober, then they tend to have other things pop out.
Spending.
Like they didn't have, they were using their addiction and they're using to control their eating disorder.
Right.
So then when they stop,
exactly. The other,
So when they stop using, now this pops up.
Right.
And they have an eating disorder. Or, they stop doing this and boom, gambling pops up.
Well, and they present
overlap.
as like an alcoholic, but maybe when they stop drinking, they have schizophrenia. Who knows?
Underlying issues, Okay. So if someone wants this paper,
all they have to do is go online.
Okay.
We have, hopefully soon we're going to be offering individual subscriptions. It's a little difficult now.
Okay.
But they just go on to keys-to-recoverynewspaper.com, and there's all different things that for info, for advertising, to contact us. And we do the best we can with subscriptions. Like we handwrite them out and send them out.
Yeah, nice. If they go on and ask us, we can if they're in Santa Monica, we can put here's our distribution point. We're here, we're there.
Right.
We're in Venice. We're at the Venice Community Center. We can
tell people go pick up a newspaper at Radford Hall.
Yeah, West Hollywood. And they go to the 12-step store.
Okay.
So they can go.
Yeah, my 12-step store carries a lot of our newspapers, and I drop them off all the time. They're constantly running out.
Great. And what's the Marcus,
I was going to say page 15.
Right.
Basically tells about who we distribute to.
Our distribution and our ad rates.
I see it right
there. And that's
there.
just a small amount of individuals that we actually distribute to.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. And what's the response been? Being so young, what are people saying about the paper?
We have nothing but great. I mean, people love what we do. They can't believe that we don't have tons of competition. They love us. All we get is positive things, And, I mean, it's incredible because when you just have an idea and a dream, and, when I was a drug counselor, I wanted to save lives, but it was a little intense, and I worked with adolescents and they died, and I wanted to stay in the recovery industry without having that much of an emotional connection. It's too much. Just like the orphans in Uganda. There's certain things I have a heart for. I can help alcoholic women like nothing you've ever seen. Give me an alcoholic woman on Skid Row, and I'm there. I have no pity. I'm like, let's do it. We can get sober. But some things are a little harder, and this is just an incredible way to be connected to the recovery industry and to the community and to help people without it overtaking my life. I'm already sponsoring 20 women.
Wow. And how has that changed? How has the recovery community industry changed? Since you got sober?
Well, I got sober the first time in 1980, and back then a lot of it there was not this many treatment centers. There was no intensive outpatient. I mean, it was basically psychiatric facilities. And then I remember Dr. Dave Lewis had one of the first places, and it was ASAP. It was adolescent substance abuse program and an adult substance abuse program out in Pasadena.
Right.
And then it's just grown like crazy.
Yeah.
But back then, there was barely anything. Impact was around. Cry Help was around.
Treatment in 1984, there wasn't even, I was too young to be in treatment.
Right.
I was 16, so I had to go into a psych ward. So I didn't really get to hear. You know, when they leave, they tell you a little bit, you know.
Right.
And so I wasn't armed with the goods to save my life, you know.
Right.
But nowadays, it's like we go to places and it's like, you know, 12, 13. There's so many. We just drove magazines, you know, to treatment center for kids, for adolescents.
Yeah.
You know, that's different.
Wow.
You know, and how this has helped. It's like when you hear people say, you know, some guy came to my sober living and I couldn't help them, so I put him in a homeless shelter, and now this guy's got 2 weeks sober. That makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Or you're going into social services with a woman and her kids, and she's got our newspaper. You know, because that's being on the firing lines, you know, and trying to hear, because maybe these people never even heard what they need to hear. And maybe they can read one article that's like, okay, I get it.
Right.
You know, and that's the beauty of print.
Yeah. I was going to say something because I'm the baby of the bunch.
Okay.
I just got 3 years. And when I was at Cry Help, I was one of the lead technicians, and I thought I was helping there because we was usually helping about maybe 75 people per month.
Wow.
On the average.
Wow.
And when Jeannie asked me to resign and to work full-time for the newspaper, I never had any idea of the broadness that it was going to encompass. I didn't know that I was going to be going to Skid Row. I was going to see some of the most severe tragedies that can be happening in drug addiction, all the way to the success stories, you know. And I was going to become a counselor.
Right.
That's what I was going to college for. And I was going to get my BA, and then I was thinking of a master's, but she told me that this newspaper is going to be very large in a lot of ways, and it really is. So I can see myself putting that on the back burner. I'm going to finish my education just for myself.
Right.
But I'm not going to apply that when it comes to my profession.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe you'll open your own little treatment facility.
That's amazing. No, that's
possible.
That's great. That's great. Now, you guys are growing, obviously. So you're across the country now.
Correct.
What are the future plans?
Well, we want to stabilize, you know, and we want to get private subscriptions. We want to get deeper and deeper into the communities. We want to saturate like all the surrounding counties, go up to San Francisco, San Diego, and saturate California and keep growing out. But I think a lot of it too is we're flexible, we're adaptable.
Right.
It's like we got to see what's growing, but you know, you never know. I mean, sometimes you have a plan, and if you're so married to that plan, you become rigid and you might break. You know, so one thing we practice is flexibility.
It's a great model. No, it's a great model.
Yeah, and adaptability.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you never know. You know, you just never know what you're going to need, where you're going to go, what you're going to do.
Right.
You know, and we really want to like get into the prisons. That's kind of where we're going. And somebody said, "Oh, the criminals." You know what? It was a high-end facility, and they're like, well, that's not really our target area. I go, well, you know, rich people go to prison too, right? And the parents and the kids, I mean, it's not just, you know, a lot of people, it's almost like when I first got sober, we thought, you know, before I got sober, because I was 18 when the first time I walked into Radford Hall over on Radford, and I just envisioned like a bunch of old men in trench coats, and it wasn't that. You know, they were still a lot of, I was very young at the time, and there wasn't that many young people in AA at the time. But I mean, now it's like you walk into any meeting anywhere, and and it's like from 12 to 90 to 100.
That's the difference, I think, too, being from 20 years ago to today.
Right.
Well, with the people getting sober and being able to share their experience, they brought the bottom up so the kids can stop if they want. You know, even me, when I relapsed, I came back at 26. I was still very young for getting sober. I just turned 53, and I'm going to have 29 years sober. That's crazy.
Wow.
I sponsor women who are just now getting sober at like 70. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's great. Well, great. So if someone wants to become a distributor, they go to your website.
Yep.
KeysToRecoveryNewspaper.com.
All they have to do is ask, and we go everywhere for free. We want to distribute, so we make it as easy as possible. We want to be everywhere. We're in like restaurants, libraries, because people think just treatment facilities, but we want to be everywhere. Schools, we're at Pierce College in the Addiction Studies program, we're in Valley College, we're everywhere. Glendale College in the libraries, wherever. All they have to do is call us up or go online, and it's all for free. We'll just write them down and put them on our little distribution list, and maybe my mommy will come out and say, hey.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Are high schools responding?
Yeah, well, we have a couple high schools.
Yes,
it's a little iffy. It has to go into, I think, more like the counseling offices and stuff.
Gotcha.
But
okay. Beautiful. Do you guys have anything else that you'd like to say before we kind of wrap things up? Anything you want to get out there? Any information?
One of the things I was going to say, what Beth loves to tell individuals, is that we saturate the recovery industry, and we also go mainstream.
Yeah.
Which encompasses everything.
Gotcha. Nice.
That's why I said on page 15, that's just a small portion of the places we actually distribute to.
Yeah, because I believe everyone knows an addict.
Yeah,
everyone is
true.
affected by an
And
addict.
and we want to get more judges. We love judges.
Judges? Okay.
Yeah.
So judges, if
Judges?
you're listening, contact Keys to Recovery Newspaper.
It's true.
And it's free.
That's right.
She says it like 3 or 4 times when she's talking to people. And then they don't hang up. It's free.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's the
First
catch?
time they're wondering.
Yeah.
And then her second thing is like, there's no catch. There's no catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing a great thing. I love this paper, and we're looking forward to reading all the future papers that come out.
Yeah, we all take turns writing the editor's column.
Okay.
So
I saw Marcus. You were in this.
He was
one,
just the
right?
last one. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I love that. That was
my
great.
Background. And previously, prior to the broadcast of the casting right now, is that you and I was conversing, and I mentioned to you that Jeannie was my girlfriend back in 1979.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I was sitting in bed the other night, and I thought about it. I was like, who would think back there in '79 when we were together that we'd be in the position we're in now?
I know. Well, I was 17, and he was telling me to stop drinking and use, and he was going to become a preacher, and I was like, I cannot be a preacher's wife. And I wasn't done, So fast forward, then when I see him, he gets sober. Now here we are. We've had an entire, life apart, and yet now I have a man who walks the same path. We go to on our own without the newspaper. We go to. We feed the homeless once a month. The first Friday of every month, we go to PATH, People Assisting the Homeless, and we buy, prepare, and serve and eat with the homeless people.
That's great.
And, it's just, to have somebody in your life that's so connected. I mean, our love story, we just got married, but it's like we should have got married.
Congratulations on that as well. So 33 years ago, you guys are dating, you split up, you didn't have any contact?
Well, actually, it was 36 years ago. So we've been together 3 years now.
Wow.
But it was 33-year gap in between.
Wow.
Yeah. I tried to make amends to him, which is, about... And I thought he didn't want to hear my amends, but he was a little loaded. But he accepted it now.
I was smoking and drinking. I was a bad boy.
Wow.
But
now he's
I got to tell you, I've never had somebody be so supportive and so like-minded. We're so evenly yoked.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a blessing, definitely.
Great story. Great story.
And I love Beth. She's my best friend.
Hi.
Hi, Beth. Well, Jeannie, Marcus, Beth, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And
Malibu,
thank you.
Yeah, go pick up a paper, KeysToRecoveryNewspaper.com.
All over Southern California it is.
And in Florida.
And when you guys get really big, hopefully you'll come back and do another podcast.
We will.
Look forward to it.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, y'all.
Inside, addiction.